Me personally, I'm a little bit creeped out by the giving tree.
Hi, I'm Nick Gillespie, and today we're talking with Arin Greenwood. She's the author of the new young adult novel, Save the Enemy. Thanks for talking with us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
This novel is hilarious and it's funny, I think, for all readers, but libertarians especially will like it because it's about a girl whose mother gets murdered, her father goes missing.
Hilarious already.
I can barely contain myself. And talk a little bit about the libertarian dimension of this novel. What's going on?
Oh, sure. Well, the father is sort of a think tank type libertarian. He is a big Ayn Rand supporter. He doesn't think that there should be public transportation. He's very suspicious of public schools and that sort of a thing. And in theory, he would like to teach his daughter some survival skills, except he himself is lacking all survival skills. So it's a very academic sort of a thing that he's trying with her.
And I mean, this comes up in all sorts of ways where the daughter is both trying to please the father, but also is kind of like, oh, geez,
a little
Dad.
Suspicious.
The book actually came to my attention. I was reading a story about you and the novel in the National Journal. And you go on to slag, or talked about how the narrator in the book slags the giving tree. Here, would you read what the narrator, how she explains the giving tree?
Sure. Your dad probably read you books like The Giving Tree when you were a kid. My dad did read me The Giving Tree once, calling it evil and that it promotes the immoral destruction of the self. I was 4. He preferred Atlas Shrugged, which is basically about how rich people shouldn't pay taxes. He has explained to me a lot over the course of my 17 years that taxes are slavery.
Are you speaking through the character about the giving tree there?
Me personally, I'm a little bit creeped out by the giving tree.
What's wrong with the giving tree? I mean, it's a tree that gives all to the little boy who keeps coming back until he's an old man.
It gives all. I'm uncomfortable with a couple of aspects of the giving tree. One, I feel like it sort of promotes some gender roles that maybe I'm not so comfortable with. It does seem like a kind of maternal tree that's giving up everything of herself for her child, although I don't have children myself, but I understand that people would give up anything
and let's
themselves.
be clear, the kid doesn't care. I mean, he's not thankful at all.
No,
he
that's part of what really
back.
makes me uncomfortable about it, is that the kid seems so, even as he matures into adulthood and then beyond just, adulthood, he seems so unaware of what it is that the tree has given up for him.
I always see it as kind of the prequel to the Harry Chapin song "Cats in the Cradle."
Right.
But now, what about Atlas Shrugged? Do you? So are you more in line with Atlas Shrugged?
I wouldn't say that I'm fully in line with Atlas Shrugged either. I feel like both stories probably have their good messages and their bad messages in there.
So it's safe to say that Save the Enemy takes place between the bloody crossroads that is the Giving Tree and Atlas Shrugged.
You've just summed up the book in the best possible way.
All right. Where does this humor come from in your life?
Well, it's a lucky thing. I happen to be married to a libertarian, but I've also spent some time in the libertarian think tank world myself. When I was new in DC, and I used to be a lawyer, and I moved to DC, and I decided I didn't want to be a lawyer anymore. I was working as a writer, and one of the gigs that I got was working at a free market think tank. And that's how I met my husband, the libertarian.
Right, well, we'll get to him. We'll unmask him. But how do you perceive libertarians generally? Obviously, they're good. They're good for humor. But what's the essence of libertarianism?
So I think libertarians are great. I love their analytical integrity, is sort of willing to take an idea and see it through all the way to the end and explore its natural conclusion and not sort of cut off an idea at the point at which other people might get uncomfortable and decide that it's time to abandon ship.
And that shows up in the book. At one point, it appears as if the murdered mother is communicating via some kind of supernatural ability to a kind of Asperger's or autistic brother of the narrator, the main character. And the main character is saying, I know that I can't believe in metaphysical, or supernatural beings, but I kind of want to.
Yeah.
So that, it's rich in human pathos, I think, and humor.
Yeah, well, this is sort of, aside from having to actually find her father who's been kidnapped, this is sort of her main struggle, is trying to figure out, is she more like her dad? And in that she prizes rationality above everything else, or is she more like her mom, in which, in the sense that she's sort of willing to follow impulses and inclinations and the things that she wants to believe rather than the things that logic would dictate.
Now, you are married to Ray Lehman, who
Yes.
works at a group called R Street. How did he help you? I mean, in your acknowledgments, you say he helped kind of work through some of the humor of the book.
Yeah, frequently a situation would arise in the book, and I would say, I wonder what the father would do in this situation. Or, what would the brothers say right here? And I would turn to him and say, hey, Ray, if you were, let's say you were doing XYZ thing, what would you say? And he would give me a little snippet of dialogue or a subject that is really something I couldn't have come up with on my own.
Well, now you write, you're a journalist at the Huffington Post, and you have described your politics as a kind of namby-pamby liberal.
Yeah, libertarian.
Libertarian.
Yes,
okay, so
the kind that everybody hates.
what kinds of things do you cover? I mean, well, you cover quirky DC for the Huffington Post, so if you were covering kinky DC, there'd be a lot to cover. Quirky, maybe not so much. But what's interesting about the city for your Huffington Post stuff?
I've actually found a lot of things that are interesting here. One of my favorite stories that I covered was about Hank the cat, who was a cat in Virginia who was running for a U.S. Senate seat. Covered that very closely.
I think the cat may have outpolled the Libertarian candidate in that race.
In that race, I think he might have. Yeah, I mean, I've written about, I tend to write a lot about animals. I'm very interested in animals, and we have a lot of animal things going on around here. I've written about, if dogs should be granted some form of personhood.
How do you feel about that as a libertarian?
As a libertarian, I'm not sure that my libertarian...
Should dogs have a guaranteed safety net?
I think that they should,
government
actually.
Provided safety net?
Government. Well, I think some minimal safety net for all sentient beings would be good.
And dogs count as that.
Well, dogs
you must
are certainly
be
sentient.
anti-Michael Vick then.
Anti-Michael Vick. Yeah, that's right. I wrote about an MMA fighter who's been challenging Michael Vick to get in the ring. He says, the shedding of blood is the only way that the animal people will sort of let him get on with his life. Well,
Save the Enemy is out now. It's from Arin Greenwood. Thank you so much for talking to ReasonTV today. Good luck at the Huffington Post and with the book. For ReasonTV, I'm Nick Gillespie.